Hi friends, welcome back to another lecture on the MediLectures YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss the topic anaphylaxis. In this video, we will first discuss the definition of anaphylaxis, what are the clinical manifestations, etiology and predisposing factors, what is the pathophysiology behind it, how to diagnose, how to treat this condition, and most importantly, the prevention. Now the prevention will be avoidance, specific immunotherapy, tolerance induction, and desensitization. So we will discuss all these subheadings one by one. You can download the MediLectures app, which is available on Play Store as well as iOS, to download the PDF of this lecture, attempt free tests, and various quizzes. You can also check out Harrison based test series course, which is available on the app, along with exclusive WhatsApp group membership. Now starting with the definition, anaphylaxis is a potentially life-threatening systemic allergic reaction involving one or more organ systems that typically occurs within seconds to minutes of exposure to the anaphylactic trigger. Now this trigger is most often a drug, food or bee sting. It can also be a radio contrast media as well. So the important point is that this is a life-threatening condition which can involve one or more organ systems and typically occurs within seconds to minutes of the exposure. Now coming on to the clinical manifestations, these can be uniphasic, which is seen in 80 to 90% of cases, or biphasic, which is rare and seen in 10 to 20% of all the cases. Now the biphasic means that the anaphylactic symptoms return about an hour or longer after the resolution of the initial symptoms. So firstly there are initial symptoms, then there is a phase of resolution. Again after 1 or 2 hours these symptoms can recur. Now the anaphylactic reactions are particularly dangerous if hypotension and hypoxia occurs, which can lead to cardiovascular and respiratory compromise. There may be upper or lower airway obstruction or both. Now when we consider the typical manifestations, these includes laryngeal edema, which presents as lump in a throat, hoarseness or stridor. There can be bronchial obstruction, in which there is feeling of tightness in the chest or audible wheezing. Angioedema can lead to inflammation of epiglottis and larynx. ECG abnormalities can occur with or without infarction. Now this infarction can be primary due to cardiac event which is mediated by the mast cells, or may be secondary due to critical reduction in the blood volume. Now the gastrointestinal manifestations typically include nausea, vomiting, crampy abdominal pain and or fecal incontinence. Now there can be associated angioedema of the bowel wall. There can be angioedema of bowel wall, in which there is intravascular volume depletion which can precipitate the cardiovascular collapse as well. Cutaneous manifestations are among the most common presentation of anaphylaxis, and these are present in almost more than 90% of the cases, and the symptoms include urticarial eruptions, flushing with diffuse erythema and feeling of generalized warmth in the body. So this was about the clinical manifestations. Now coming on to the etiology and predisposing factors, conditions like asthma and underlying cardiovascular disease could lead to more rapid decompensation from anaphylaxis. Now atopy usually associated with the radio contrast sensitivity, exercise induced anaphylaxis, idiopathic anaphylaxis and allergy to food or latex. Now this atopy to these conditions can also lead to anaphylaxis. Severe Hymenoptera induced anaphylaxis, that is bee sting. Bee sting induced anaphylaxis can be a presenting feature of underlying systemic mastocytosis. Now IgE mediated drug allergies, which is most commonly seen with antibiotics, chemotherapeutics, but can also occur with almost any type of medication. Repeated exposure is also an important risk factor, especially with the drugs like chemotherapeutic agents like carboplatin. Now it is seen that in studies, if more than 7 cycles are given, it is associated with 27% risk of anaphylaxis, and in more than 15 cycles, it is associated with 46% risk of hypersensitivity leading to anaphylaxis. Also, in cystic fibrosis, repeated antibiotics when given for bronchiectasis can also lead to hypersensitivity against these antibiotics, leading to anaphylaxis. Also, recombinant biologics can also induce the formation of IgE, immunoglobulin E, against the proteins. Example seen with drugs like cetuximab, which is a EGFR antibody. Now, when we consider the pathophysiology, the anaphylaxis can be IgE mediated or non-IgE mediated. Now, when we consider IgE mediated, most of the early mediators of anaphylaxis are derived from mast cells, basophils, and eosinophils. Now, these mast cells and basophils contain preformed granules comprising histamine, proteases like tryptase, chymase, proteoglycans like heparin, chondroitin sulfide, and TNF alpha. Now, these all mediators are rapidly released on degranulation. So, all the mediators are released on degranulation since these are stored in the granules inside mast cells and basophils. Now, the histamine after degranulation leads to flushing, urticaria, pruritus, and in severe cases leads to hypotension as well as tachycardia. On the other hand, tryptase and chymase can activate complement as well as coagulase pathway. So, these can activate complement as well as coagulase pathway. Now, arachidonic acid derivative products are also released, which include leukotrienes, prostaglandin D2, and platelet activating factor. Now, these leukotrienes and prostaglandin D2 in combination leads to bronchoconstriction and increased microvascular permeability. On the other hand, prostaglandin alone can also lead to cutaneous flushing, attraction of basophils and eosinophils to the site of mast cell activation. Now, when we consider the non-IgE mediated anaphylaxis, it is specially seen with certain drugs and it can occur upon the first exposure. So, what are the examples? A chemotherapeutic agent paclitaxel is given with castor oil and the agent which is used is cremophor. So, this cremophor can lead to direct activation of complement pathway without the formation of IgE. So, this is non-IgE mediated. Also, radiocontrast agents and vancomycin can lead to non-IgE mediated anaphylaxis. Now, after we have discussed the clinical features, etiology and predisposing condition as well as pathophysiology, now see how to diagnose the anaphylaxis. Now, in anaphylaxis, there is typical history revealing onset of the symptoms and signs of anaphylaxis within seconds to minutes after the trigger is encountered. Now, attempt should be made in identification of the specific causes to minimize the risk of recurrent episodes of anaphylaxis. Skin or serum specific IgE testing is useful to confirm the clinical suspicion. Also, we have certain serum biomarkers. These include serum histamine and serum tryptase, which were also the preformed mediators which were released on degranulation. So, histamine is having very short half-life and it is measurable for only less than 1 hour from the onset of anaphylaxis. Therefore, serum tryptase levels are preferred. These peak 60 to 90 minutes after the onset of anaphylaxis and may be measured up to 5 hours. When we consider the treatment of anaphylaxis, firstly, early recognition is mandatory since severe reactions can be fatal. Now, the treatment of choice, as we have seen from our preclinical days, is intramuscular epinephrine. Now, the dose is 0.3 to 0.5 ml of 1:1000 solution. So, how it is prepared? 1 milligram in 1 ml. So, this will give a concentration of 1:1000 and out of this 0.3 to 0.5 ml is given intramuscularly. Repeat doses can be given at 5 to 20 minutes of intervals in cases of severe reaction. And epinephrine has both alpha as well as beta adrenergic effects. This will lead to vasoconstriction, bronchial smooth muscle relaxation, and attenuation of enhanced venular permeability. Now, what should be the patient position during the treatment? The position should be supine. This is to prevent the empty heart syndrome, which we will discuss. Now, what is this empty heart syndrome? Whenever upright position or sitting position is maintained, it can lead to this type of syndrome. In this, there is intravascular volume depletion, which can lead to decrease in venous return, and finally sudden onset hypotension. So during administration of epinephrine and also in general, the patient should be kept in supine position to prevent this empty heart syndrome. IV fluids and vasopressors can be given for intractable hypotension. Oxygen inhalation and salbutamol nebulization can also be helpful for bronchoconstriction, and IV antihistaminics will prevent urticaria. Glucocorticoids will treat angioedema, and bronchodilators intravenous can be given for treatment of bronchospasm. So this was the basic treatment of anaphylaxis. Now coming on to the last but not the least part, that is prevention. So we will discuss in simple terms what is avoidance, the specific immunotherapy, tolerance induction, and desensitization. So in avoidance, it is the simplest and most straightforward approach. In this, there is strict avoidance of the known anaphylactic triggers, and the patient should be educated on self-administration of the epinephrine if the anaphylaxis develops. So this is avoidance. Now second one is specific immunotherapy. In this, we give venom immunotherapy, in which we tolerize the patient to serial subcutaneous administration of escalating doses of the allergen. Now, the side effect of this therapy is sometimes anaphylaxis can occur during the tolerizing of the patient. Therefore, proper setup should be used while practicing this type of therapy. Now, in tolerance induction, it is based on the early age, that is exposing the children to the known allergens like egg, milk, soya, peanuts, so that anaphylaxis or hypersensitivity do not develop at the later age. Finally, we have desensitization, in which we give short-term treatment to prevent the reactions. This works best for Ig mediated reactions, and we pre-medicate with prednisolone 0.5 mg per kg 2 to 3 doses before the exposure, as well as diphenhydramine, which is the antihistaminic, 25 mg 1 hour before. So this is specifically used before the radio contrast agent is given in the radiological investigation. So this was all about this lecture, guys. Thank you so much.